I usually wait even more to give a chance for more people to come. But this time there was no need because there was like 36 of you waiting. And it rarely happens that there is so many people waiting before live stream even starts. It's 40 as of now, 41. And even when I used to have people who are considered Cosmos OGs, it never starts with this number of people watching. I had the open window. Sorry. Can you say? I think I might have lost your audio.
No, I'm in.
No.
I'm still
Oh,
there.
you
Yeah.
in. So it's all good. So the number of people is crazy, and with this start, I'm learning how active is Kuji community. I'm sure you know, I wasn't always on the same page with Kuji. In fact, when I think the first time I learned about Kuji, when it was launching its blockchain, I was like, I'm not touching it. There is red flags. And soon after, I even connected with Dove and we spoke for quite a long time. I think for past few months, even like we were trying to do some chat. It never worked out, but it finally did. So before we started, I was trying to learn a little bit about Dove. Is that your actual name, Dove?
It's my nickname, but I've been getting called that for like years and years now, probably decades. So it feels like my name.
Yeah. So Dove is South African British. Is it fair to share like that you
Yeah,
moved
I'm
to?
literally a citizen of both. So yeah.
So like how did you move to UK initially? You said it was adventure, but like I would imagine it's not that easy because you need to get a job. So what were you doing at the time when you first moved to UK?
Yeah, so actually, at the time it was pretty easy. My wife and I got married in South Africa, and then she was born with a French passport. So at that time, literally, I got a visa. I think it took about 3 days. Boom, I had it in my passport, and then we were gone. So I didn't have to have any job security or anything like that. Just jumped on a plane. So it was easy. I mean, obviously things have changed since then. This was like, I don't know, 14 years ago or something like that. But yeah, super easy. And then I got to the UK and just started working as a developer. Always just a freelancer, like a contractor. So yeah, but it was smooth sailing to get in.
Okay, so I wanted to ask what was your job? So you were a developer. I imagine you had a lot of opportunities. So for
Yeah.
those, go on.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah. So it was at the time, it was good timing. I mean, especially because I'm a UI dev and things were kind of moving on from the kind of world of multimedia stuff like Flash and, JavaScript and things like that were really, really starting to gain popularity. So I think I was just lucky, to be honest. It's kind of like the right place at the right time. And those skills were needed there. Yeah.
So you were UI dev. I assume the reason why Kujira has such a great UI because one thing you can hear, like, hey, like even when some people doubt Kujira, they say like, yeah, let let's address like a little bit about the like open. Yeah, it's not open source. I know, but like the UI is the best. Like everyone says, but UI Kujira has the best UI. So I guess that comes from your background, right? Like,
Funny enough, so Brett's actually our UI guy. He's my best mate from many, many years ago. He's the guy that I actually pretty much got the inspiration from to get into it. He was working from his apartment overlooking the ocean, and I was like, "Hang on, what am I doing? I need to do something like that."
where
And
was
so
he?
yeah, that's what got back. Yeah, in South Africa as well. So from our hometown in Durban. So yeah, and so no, I mean he's always been ahead of me in that game. But yeah, I like to just kind of guide things along. I do a little bit of coding from time to time, but my job has since then really moved more into like management stuff and BD and just pretty much everything else, right? So yeah, but we all play our part for sure.
Yeah, you said about the view to the ocean. So I was telling Dove I went to South Africa a few years ago with then my girlfriend who is now my wife, and South Africa has the best news. So it was actually in Cape Town, and I visited my friend's house, and it was beautiful view. It was like a sunset, beautiful view at the ocean. And the sunset, it's different sunset. People don't realize that the
Yeah.
sunset in South Africa is pure magic. It goes down in the ocean. You have all shades of purples, and it makes you speechless. It makes your heart cheer. And then he's like, "Yeah, the rent is $400."
Yeah,
It's like, it's crazy, right? Uh,
exactly.
it makes you want to leave there, but obviously there is other reasons why, like, some people don't want to leave there. I was in UK around the same time when you were there, because I moved to UK around 2012, and I've been there for 2 years. I was in
Oh,
Newcastle
wow.
up north.
Okay, yeah.
It's also because I'm on Polish passport, so I can live there. And as you said, your wife had French passport, which made her European citizen, so you had like free movement.
Yeah.
So how long you were working as developer there?
Woo. Okay, so got there, worked as a freelancer for something like, I don't know, what was it? I was there 8 years, so probably about 4 years. And then after that, just started kind of doing my own thing. Created like a small sort of web and mobile software development house, and then ran with that for another probably 4 years or so. With a couple of guys jumped on board on that as well. And then obviously the Terra came along, and that just
Mhm.
caught my eye. And that's when I was like, hang on, this is cool. Wanting to get into Web3, of course, it's kind of like a natural evolution, I suppose. But yeah, then just started diving into all these chats, these crazy wild Telegram, like we all know the vibe. And yeah, then just after a few months, naturally people just start kind of, pinning themselves together and thinking, hey, maybe we can do something. And yeah, I mean, from then on, it kind of was, the rest was history.
So, like, I want to put that together. You were a developer, right? Like, I don't know anything about the languages, because we know there is different languages. So what was your main language? Does it matter, or maybe you were like full stack? Which
Yeah, no, it's a good question, because there's so much going on now in the web world,
Mhm.
that you kind of, yeah, I guess kind of full stack. In other words, basically can create an application from front to back, but you tend to get people that still kind of specialize in the architecture
Mhm.
stuff, and then some people that specialize in the front end stuff. I'd say that's still pretty much true, but what you're expected now, I think, even as a UI developer, is to pretty much be able to at least build a complete app, like as far as the complete front end experience is concerned. So including like routing of pages and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So the architecture guy will kind of be sort of wiring up the bits that you do, but you still need to be able to create an app flow. Whereas back in the day, you would literally just like take a PSD and literally create HTML and CSS templates, and then hand that over to someone. The world has kind of changed since then. So yeah, pretty much any of the main front end technologies, JavaScript and its frameworks. So React, everyone has probably heard of React.js. That's probably the biggest one I'm seeing, especially in the crypto communities. That's something you have to know. And then obviously you need to have a very good command of CSS, because it's surprisingly tricky. People just think, oh, you're just kind of changing colors, but it's pretty gnarly. So having a lot of experience in that is a good idea.
Yeah, I'm asking because, as you mentioned, Terra, Terra was built with Cosmos SDK, which is probably less relevant to the fact that it had smart contracts on it, that are Cosmos, which is this new framework, and that framework is in Rust. So, were you familiar with Rust before you came to Terra already, or was it like the?
No, not at all. And when I met Hans, who's our smart contract engineer and basically the architect of the blockchain, I was just coming from a pure UI kind of business perspective, like thinking, hey, and then thank God, like we met him. So then Brett, myself, and Hans kind of got together, but he in particular is, I mean, he's well versed in Solidity and Rust, which is super handy. So if we ever need to do some cross-chain stuff, which we have, like for Orca, we have an EVM kind of port, we have a ported EVM version, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, and so yeah, as I say, thank God he was very familiar, because we are the same. It's very much CosmWasm and Rust contracts, and everything you mentioned now. Pretty similar to Terra, yeah.
So before Terra, you actually did not do anything with the blockchain. Like you didn't really work with EVM chains like Ethereum or anything like this, right?
Not me. I mean, in terms of my crypto experience, it was mainly investing and just kind of researching, really. So, I did a lot of homework around it, and I was very fascinated by it, but not me personally. And then I started getting into it from a UI perspective, and starting to build out, just kind of front end components. But yeah, in terms of the smart contract layers, that's what I like. Our partnership when we met Hunts, and then it all just made sense, right? Because we could do the kind of the full stack of blockchain development.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But as the investor, you were buying crypto before that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which ones you were speculating on, and
Pretty
how
much
did it go?
like everything, I was the typical 2017, like bought all sorts of shit, watched most of it go to zero, like like honestly, it was just kind of fun, kind of chasing ICOs and just enjoying it, just kind of enjoying the
Mhm.
ride. Yeah, like did okay, I'm not gonna not, especially that first cycle, it wasn't like tons of money or anything, but definitely very fun. And then of course learned a few things, and then in the next bull run, things were a little bit better, except for the obvious elephant in the room,
Yeah.
where our entire platform, like, and everything with it, just kind of went down the drain. But yeah, bit of everything really. I actually got into Next so early, and then I kind of forgot about it, and by the time the next bull run came in, I was like, oh shit, this is worth some money.
Yeah.
But yeah, just honestly played around with so much stuff, like so all sorts really, from
Yeah.
BSC like crap to obviously the more serious Ethereum stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, in the 2017 bull run, or rather the end, I turned $1,000 into, I think, $30. So and then I put
Amazing.
and then I just transferred it to Cardano, I think, and I kept it on the Binance, that $30 worth of Cardano at like 3 cents. No,
Wow.
so, yeah, was it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like this, and then when 2020 bull market was starting, I just transferred it to like Atoms, which didn't do well because Cardano actually outperformed very well, like it outperformed Atom. But I was fortunate because I actually joined the 2020, right? So it was
Yeah.
very so
Amazing.
like you discovered Terra, and I wonder like why you were there was so much of the other stuff. There was like, yeah, there was Terra, but there was Solana, there was Ethereum, there was Polygon. So what hooked you up on Terra? Was it because your partner was like heavily invested in Terra and was like like hyped up about this?
Yeah, it's funny. It's nothing like that. Actually, I think my mates might correct me. Just reading the thing. My mates might correct me, but I'm pretty sure I was the first one to make noise about Terra and
Mhm.
Luna. And I'm trying to think what it was. I guess it was just something different. I think there was excitement around, obviously, the algorithmic
Mhm.
mechanism that they had come up with. But I don't know, it seemed like a good place to build apps. I think they did really well to make the ecosystem just feel like a good place to build. And although in the beginning I wasn't necessarily right in the beginning, I wasn't thinking of building, but I think subconsciously I kind of was. And I'm not sure what things to really pick out, but of course, Terra always had a good UX as well, which is
Mhm.
something, like you said, we value. And I think it was just a feeling, really. It was just a feeling. Like I got into these chats, and I started looking at it, and I looked at the UX, and I looked at kind of the community. Although it was it was always crazy and a bit wild. I don't know. I just kind of had a feeling about it, and that's when I said to my mates, we should keep an eye on this one. They probably hate me for that now, but it is what it is. But
Yeah,
yeah, the feeling, yeah.
I wanted to share like how I found Terra, and it's so annoying because there is this YouTube channel called Miko Beats. He's also running quite a big hedge fund, I think. But 2 years ago, Like I think Terra was at like 50 cents or something like this. He had interview with Do Kwon. It was a very good interview. Like, so I think it's shame that to remove something after collapsing, because it's such a like interesting part of the history later to reflect on the early days.
Yeah.
But I would never buy it, right? So it's like I would knew I never bought it. Then my friend got in at like $5, and they all become like so wealthy overnight. They would come on my channel, we would discuss, and then of course it ended, and they were like in shock for quite a few days. I think, like, my friend would tell me like it didn't even feel sad, like it felt like completely unreal. um but yeah, like, so around what date you started building Kujira? Like, did you start building like by yourself in your spare time, or because I know you raised money via some launchpad
Yeah.
on Terra? Like, so if you can, that was like one of my concerns. Not sure if you remember. Like, I don't like
Yeah.
launchpads itself. They're always very sticky, because
Yeah.
like launchpads are also the breed for a lot of scams
Yeah.
along with the good projects, right? So like, if you can break down like the date when you started building, what was the idea? Was the idea for what Kujira is now, or you had different idea for Kujira then?
Yeah. I'm happy to go through it. So, started in those general chats, as I mentioned, just kind of taking in feedback and listening to people, kind of looking at the ecosystem. And then a few of us like kind of broke off into a separate chat.
Mhm.
Someone said to me, oh, so you're a developer, like let's have a think, maybe there's something we can do. And we started thinking about this idea of on-chain liquidations, right?
Mhm.
Which at the time was like completely crazy. Half of the people were like, basically said this isn't going to work. And
Mhm.
we were like, well, there must be a way. And we started chatting with, I'm just trying to remember. Yeah. So we built a prototype it was called Harpoon. I know a few people in here would remember it, but we built this prototype kind of knowing that it wouldn't work. But the point was that we wanted to build it to show people that how much they're getting screwed over by bots. So we built an app, not like similar to Orca, just in terms of, well, not it didn't look anything like it, but it was some kind of auction mechanic, much like what you'd expect. So you would have to go on and then, click on a particular liquidation that was about to be liquidated and try and, get to it as fast as you can. It's sort of like Ether Delta back in the day, kind of like first come, first serve, click, 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 waste all your gas, spend all your money. And it's kind of, we obviously knew this was going to happen, but the point was to prove, like, why are these bots winning all these liquidations? And like, not many people know. It's like you often, I think in Terra, there maybe at the end there were like a dozen, but for a lot of the times there were like 5 to 7 liquidators. There's been instances where one single one of those liquidations was worth about 300 grand. So you can imagine that's a pretty good payday to have one bot sniping one trade, right?
Mhm.
And so anyway, so we built this thing kind of knowing it's not going to work. And then what happened is not the last May crash. There was one a year before that. Funny enough, May is always a bit weird. And there was such severe liquidations that the app that we built started working because the bots ran out of money due to how much liquidations were happening. They just ran out of gas. They ran out of
Mhm.
funds. And so we woke up one morning and like regular human beings they had come out with hundreds of grand, like the bots would have, right? Except now
Mhm.
these were real people who were now shouting about it on Twitter and saying, hey, this is the way things should be. This was like, that's what we were hoping for from the experiment, but we could never really tell. You can't really test something like that. You just have
Mhm.
to wait and see. So anyway, that was pretty interesting. And then from then on, we got chatting with Anchor and like we started working alongside the Anchor team. This is what many people don't realize. I think back in the Terra days, they just assumed that we slapped a UI on top of their tech, but
Mhm.
we've been working with them for months and months, lots of backwards and forwards. But at the time they built the liquidation queue just because it was like a security thing, right? It was Terra's liquidation, so they were obviously going to handle that side of things, and we built the front end, and that's the agreement that we came to. And then from then on, that was where Orca was really born, and suddenly thousands and thousands of normies could go on, bid for liquidations, and suddenly it's a psychological shift, right? Because now you're winning during severe downturns. It's like, I don't know if that had ever really, I mean, people short tokens, but unless you're a very, very good trader, it's very hard to short. So
sorry
yeah.
to stop you, because like as I said, I don't know much. So as the price go down, and in this lending borrowing protocols, there is some liquidations happening,
Yeah.
and you sell those tokens, like not sell, sorry, like you don't sell anything, but people via Orca were able to bid on the tokens for much lower prices than they're available on the market. So
Yes.
is it possible they could snap them and quickly trade them, sell them, and make the profit, right? That's what was happening,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
But
So
they can, when the token crashes very fast, right? So let's say they got the discount at 5% maybe, but there was like 20% crash, they might be also screwed. So like it's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. But so what we found, and there's some pretty good analytics. I think there's still an article out there that dives into this. What we found almost every single time is that by the time this like the liquid, so the price drops, right, and most people are still safe in their threshold. But when it's dropped so much, what we found usually, and it was pretty accurate, I think we're talking maybe 90% of the time, like a lot, once the liquidations start happening, usually that tends to kind of be the end, kind of like the flush out of the market, and then things run up from there. So we found usually within about 1 or 2 weeks of a liquidation event happening, your discounted price plus the price it had gone up to was well worth it. And I think the average APR on playing Orca is like 300%. People don't realize. And so yeah, in theory, it could happen that it, but then you must bear in mind that's pretty much a black swan, right? Because if you're going below like fairly deep liquidations, in that case, it's like things are falling off a cliff. Usually it doesn't work like that. So yeah, as I say, usually the market bounces back, and then you find yourself with a discounted asset that's now suddenly run pretty quickly because, the markets tend to go in reverse. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, the kind of psychology. But yeah, it's definitely put it this way, it's a bloody good way to buy the dip. If you're not a very good trader and you don't know where the real dip is, Orca can at least save you from buying the middle, right?
Yeah. You can it at least dollar cost averaging will be better average at the end, right?
Exactly. Guaranteed. Yeah.
I need to put something in between our conversation, because it appears, sorry, we are just about to go back to this, but Kujira is not even like major chain in Cosmos. I'm not saying that in offensive way. I mean, it doesn't get the necessary attention. Everyone knows Cosmos Hub, everyone knows Osmosis, everyone knows, well, don't want to say some other blockchains, right? But I can tell you, none of those blockchains have such community as Kujira now. The madness that is going now in the comments, and there is over 50 people watching us. I just want to say, like, it's you who give me clout right now, like, which is crazy. So sorry guys, I might not put every single comment that you're doing right now, but it only shows I can. So I want to tell you now, it appears that Kujira might have the strongest community. It's similar traffic as I had with Jared from Luna, which whole Luna. It's I think Kujira absorbed all of that community, and it's it's absolutely crazy. I want to ask, when you were having Orca on Luna, then were the volumes very high? Like, I assume, like, what if you compare the volumes? I'm not sure what are the volumes now. obviously it's bear market, I'm sure it substantially lowers. And I think your main product was then Luna, or what other, was it mainly Luna and other tokens as well?
Yeah. So the borrowing side of Anchor, I'm just trying to think right towards the end, but it's somewhat irrelevant. It was mainly B Luna and B ETH. Those were pretty much the two assets that people were going for, right? As I say, I can't even remember. It feels like it's been decades, but yeah, those are by far the main ones. And obviously, you can imagine just how wild Terra was, right? I mean, wild, like people proper like degen, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way. Just like, people were maxing out loans, and everyone just thought Luna was up only. And then, of course, every time there was a little hiccup, there would have to be liquidations, because it's the only way to keep any money market solvent, really. And so, yeah, huge. I mean, I think the TVL on Orca alone was 200 million at one point, just in Orca.
Wow.
So more than most whole Cosmos chains. So yeah, it was very significant.
And you didn't have token then, right? It wasn't, or did you have?
We did. We did launch Kuji with a token. And then we had something that we thought was pretty cool, S Kuji, which was staked Kuji, but much like now in the Kujira ecosystem, it's pretty much the same thing. People would earn a basket of assets that come out of the ecosystem, right? And because people were liquidating, trying to get cheap B Luna and B ETH, there's a small commission when you withdraw those assets, which go straight to stakers, which is exactly the same as it is now. So yeah, in our case, we felt like the token is necessary, because it's the way that we literally redeem stakers for their work,
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask, because I'm sure with that very high volume there was a lot of profit, right? Because there was a lot of fees. If you can tell me what was the fees, or what is the fee on those liquidations, like where is the...
So the fee then, and it's the same as now, is a 0.5% withdrawal fee, which is a good, it's a good earner for the Kujira ecosystem for sure. Of course, then, but again, it's, as you say, it's bear market. It's kind of hard to compare. But yeah, so that was a really good earner, and at the time, that was pretty much it. But there was so much activity just going through Orca, it didn't need anything else. So
might I know what was the highest APR that Kuji hit then? Because that was real yield essentially, right? Because it wasn't in the evolution of Kuji. So like, want to learn.
No, exactly. It's a good question. I'm trying to think. I think it was pretty consistently between 15 and 20%.
And what was the market cap?
The market cap, oh God, I mean, it swung around quite a bit. I mean, the token itself got to like $4 very briefly. It was like one weekend. I think Rand shielded. So yeah, the market cap just shot up to something ridiculous, like 400 million or something. But no, I mean, it tended to come back to, I think, 80 odd, or a million, 100 million, pretty similar to what it is now. But now we've had to like work our way on our own chain and stuff.
Yeah, so that would be crazy, because at the certain period of time you would be generating like just like probably 70 million in the real yield, right? Like at the market cap of 400 million, that would be around that. Let's even lower that to 50 million real yield. It's
but I mean, okay, that was very brief, but in theory, at that snapshot in time, in theory,
we can dream of the potential, right? Of the
for sure.
What's the... because obviously you don't have many chain, like there is Atom, right? So Atom is attractive, is big blockchain, but we cannot forget that there will be Bera chain coming. I'm sure the Kujira, well, maybe not, but I'm sure you will want to have this part of the, you use that to your advantage. There is Celestia coming. I'm sure you will be also interested. So there is a lot of other chains that will come that might be very big and bring a lot of volume. There was the question about the differences between the old tokenomics and new ones. Was it the same?
Yeah, pretty much the same. There's not too much in it around Kujira tokenomics. Really, there's no tricks. I don't know. We don't even really feel like it needs a light paper. It's like there's nothing to explain. Stakers get all of the fees and commissions
Mhm.
across the chain. Tokenomics done. No inflation. That's just it. So yeah, we kind of like it, nice and simple, pretty much the same as it was, except then it was, we had to kind of create this wrapped version of Kujira, call it SQG, but now with the native token just does all that stuff, just does it out the box,
Yeah.
which is a cool thing about Cosmos SDK and native tokens in general. So yeah.
People complain that I need the past lesson.
Yeah.
I forget to say at the very beginning that everyone who knows Kujira will be very bored during this interview, because I'm using this as opportunity to learn. But a few things. You raised some money. You raised a couple million, right? On the line.
We
It was.
raised quite a bit. We raised, oh yeah, so sorry, we were getting to that. So
Mhm.
we were the first grant on Anchor, first ever Anchor protocol grant number one, GovProp number one. But that was to build that prototype that I mentioned to you. Because they thought this could be a valuable thing to put out into the wild. We got about 100 grand for that, if I remember, but split between maybe 5 people. Then we released Orca. We got everything moving, and then we had our TGE event, and we had a private sale before that where we raised it was roughly 3 million on each side. 3 million in the private sale, and 3 million in the IDO on the launchpad. But as you said, launchpads. But at the time, and I've said this to everyone. I mean, it was the height of the bull run. People are just like, okay, use this product, go there, do that. Here's all these investors, and we were like, wow, that's amazing. We need money. Like, what could go wrong? And yeah, as I've said, like to quite a few people before, we could have used better investors, if I'm honest. But like I say, it was like all these people in the Terra community you knew about them, right? They were always there. They were always the people that you would see. They were always the names on on everyone's websites and dApps and stuff. And so we thought, okay, great. We put together our tokenomics. We actually had the help of quite a few people, even in TFL. They kind of guided us and said, okay, don't, do this, do that. And so we put that together, had the IDO, and then, luckily it was successful. And obviously we undervalued the project, I suppose, because from then on it went up. But
How many percent you sold in both private and public total?
I've got that somewhere here. I've got it on a spreadsheet. I'm happy I'll dig it up just now. But so anyway, well, we could kind of work it out. So we sold 3 million at 12 cents, and then another 3 million at 18 cents. So yeah, I can't remember the percentage, but I'll dig it up in a second.
I think
Then
looking at current values, that's pretty good prices. I think, right?
yeah,
Because Euro was at 50 cents long ago, but it also depends. Like, my question is, did you kept it in the bank accounts or like somewhere, or did you held it in USD?
that's the sad part. So we so we had it in UST like everyone else, thinking that it was invincible. But we got out, I think, with roughly 50%. And then, of course, at that point, for fear of dying entirely, we moved the money into a bank account. So we lost half our funding runway, which was shit. But it like we've said, it still gave us plenty runway to rebuild, to get back on our feet, and to do everything that we've been wanting to do. So we don't really cry in our soup about that. We just kind of crack on. We actually run very, very lean. To be honest, outside of some infrastructure costs and things like that, we don't have mega expenses at all. So, and that's something that we want to keep trying to make sure we're good at.
Just the fact that you left with 50%, it's pretty good, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's
most
actually
people were
amazing
wiped out.
considering like so many lost all. I assume you also must have received Luna airdrop, right? Like which you get vested or no? Like
No, we didn't opt for that
mhm,
because we kind of knew that we were going to be moving on when that happened. Not that we knew before, but we had been speaking about wanting to become a complete DeFi hub.
mhm.
Strangely, like 2 or 3 weeks before the crash, it had nothing to do with Terra or
So
running
you
away or
planned to be your
yeah.
own pain regardless, right? Like
So because we had been, I don't, because we had already launched Fin, we launched Fin, I think, on the day that
mhm,
pretty much everything died. So, but like, okay, so one thing we always like to do is stick to our word. Like, it sounds cheesy, but if we tell the community going to launch a product, we don't, okay, I know everyone's going to say when, Sonar, blah, 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 but I mean, we've really been breaking our backs. But for the most part, like if we say, guys, we're going to stick to this and launch, we go for it, right? And we don't let the market conditions dictate what we're doing. So, I can't actually. What was the question, Don? I forget.
I
I don't even know. I just went on a random tangent.
forgot something about the that you still about the if you got the Luna airdrop something, but
Oh
like
yes, yeah. So we decided because when the crash happened, we realized we are gonna move on. Well, not move on and just become our own layer one. And I think if you look at our medium, I think it's date. I think we put it out on the 13th, or I don't know, maybe
mhm,
the 15th. I'd have to check. But it was like we were definitely the first in the whole of Terra to announce that what we were going to do, let alone how we were going to do it, and we laid out a plan. So yeah, we didn't want to go to that Terra fund and sort of be like, hey, give us a grant, and we'll
mhm,
kind of leave one app on Terra,
mhm.
and then go build somewhere else. Like that just didn't feel right to us, so we never did it.
And did you plan it from the start to be Cosmos SDK, Cosmosm? Yeah, was the
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, because we had built, especially Orca and then Fin, we
mhm,
had like those pretty significant pieces of technology. And because they run on basically the same stack, it made sense to us to keep building on the Cosmos
mhm.
SDK. And I mean, I know I get it. There's a lot of people that think, oh, why didn't you just move to Arbitrum? Like, what a year ago, this narrative wasn't even there. It's like people forget these layer twos, the ZK, the this, the that. At the end of the day, you just have to kind of do what feels right to you tech wise. I think if Terra proved one thing, it's that it actually doesn't really matter what technology you're actually built on. Like if you do things properly, you can get people in regardless. Obviously it helps to have a bigger community, but it's not really a silver bullet. I don't think.
That's such a good take. Like because everyone says, "Oh, so difficult to bridge people from Ethereum." The wallet and I like obviously I do this. I'm affiliated with Stargaze if someone is not
Yeah,
aware, right? So it's like, oh, how you bring people, but like really, Luna like did like up to $60 billion valuation, being like this random blockchain, not layer two, no nothing, and they
yeah,
were able to actually bring users. So I guess yeah, that's a very valid point. And still people from outside often say, oh, it's like Cosmos chain. No, it's not. Like it doesn't matter. I think you need one event, right? So
yeah,
if I would have to bring example of Kuji, if suddenly there is this spread of information, hey, Kuji pays you very high real yield and at price go up, the people will start creating wallets and you have flow and this massive adoption growing, right?
yeah,
um
yeah. That's it exactly. I would hazard that probably 95% of people that got into Terra and Luna had no idea what about Cosmos at all,
yeah.
or the SDK. Certainly none of that. We all chirp about that all day long on Twitter and everything, but
Mhm.
it's actually pretty meaningless. And you're right, and that's kind of why we're pushing so hard on Sonar being that gateway, right? Like because I think it's very different. The idea with that is like well, this isn't a Kujira. This isn't Kujira, the Kujira blockchain. This isn't like a Cosmos app. That's all that stuff is nonsense. This is an app that you can hold in your hand and put your money to work. That's it. Like these in a decentralized manner. So
Is it going to
think
be
like
the best wallet Cosmos has seen?
well, we'd like to think so. But we're not really looking at it even. It does the things a wallet will do, of course, send tokens, receive them, whatever, stake, all that stuff. But what it really is going to be like a kind of mini version of the whole ecosystem in the palm of your hand, and kind of abstracting away. Obviously, power users they'll go to Bo, they'll go to Orca, they'll place bids, they'll trade on Fin. That's all amazing. These are all the things that we built to be the rails that the ecosystem needs, like the base layer. Then what starts happening on top of that? Some people wonder why the core team, why we've built so many dApps. It's like we needed to build out those rails. It's sort of like how TFL had Anchor, and then this, and then these are the rails that you can then build on. I mean, Anchor alone had people building. That's really what people were building on top of, right? So we're building out these rails. Now you can see teams like Manta, Calc, like loads of others that are now able to come and build strategies and things on top of all these rails. Like they could clip into I think the cool thing about the ecosystem is how everything works together. Usually in an ecosystem, you'll have like someone right over there building something, someone right over there building something different. They don't really interact with each other. Whereas if you do a trade on Fin, or you mint USK over there on Blue, and then you go off and you bid on a liquidation, that liquidation will then get sold, and that ends up back on Fin. The market making is happening from both. So quite literally, the money and is just cycling through all of these apps, and people can build on top of each one or all of them. And I think that's kind of something that's quite important with the ecosystem. So the app will be just a normie way of doing that without really knowing what you're doing.
Will it be also on the mobile, or?
Yeah, so it's mobile only. It's mobile first.
Amazing.
Really. Yeah, native.
Like
native
so like it will have the all of the Kujira apps, right?
So it's going to start off with the key ones. I mean, obviously, like trading on Fin, minting USK, managing your positions, things like that. But ultimately, it will have all of them. It won't launch with all of them because it's a lot of work. But I think the community are going to be quite happy to know that these things are coming in due course. It'll just be a constant evolution, and we can actually do over-the-air updates as well. So maybe not for absolutely everything, but you might wake up one day and without having to actually update your phone, suddenly you've got you can lend on Ghost, right?
What I also like to know, let's imagine I owe some Kujira's NFTs or the shrimp avatars. Maybe there is a lot of Kujira NFTs that are very popular. Will I be able to view them in your app, or you will not have this support initially because that's other chain, right?
Yeah, in the beginning, because now it's on another chain, we feel like probably not worth spending that dev effort right now for version 1 anyway, just because we need to make sure that obviously the wallet functionality works, the trading, like some of the built-in app. But honestly, we've done quite a bit of looking into sort of reading and working with Stargaze data. So there's absolutely no doubt, no reason why we won't have that or can't have that. Definitely, yeah. We want it to be really full featured, but we also want to make sure it is an app. So you got to be a little bit careful how much you squeeze in there. But yeah, that's why the big brains, Brett's, and the UX guys are are involved there. But yeah, we'd love to. We actually are probably just to drop a little bit of alpha. We are starting to look at NFTs pretty seriously. I won't say too much, not because I'm trying to hold back anything, more just because, there's not enough to say right now. But what I will say is that we're looking at quite a novel, totally novel and new way of actually having the NFTs get minted, because one of the things that we've always been a little bit concerned about is how much strain it can put, especially during a minting event. And we've always been a bit cautious that imagine there's a liquidation event and a minting event happening at the exact same time. You just have to be a little bit careful with the chain being so DeFi centric. You wouldn't want people like getting liquidated or something going wrong with their loans because someone's minting a shrimp in the corner. As much as I love them, it's we'll probably get a bit of crap for that.
Dove, can you tell them that it was your notification, not mine? I think they don't believe me.
It was mine.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm very professional here, except
Yeah.
the fact that I don't know anything about Kujira. So, does it mean that you plan to have NFTs on your chain and be competition to Stargaze, or?
I mean, I don't know about that. We don't really want to like compete with Stargaze on NFTs. Not at all. I think we're just looking at, I guess, NFTs more as a medium. There could be something interesting there. Not so much the art stuff. Maybe other. I think NFTs can do a whole bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I love the arts. I mean, I only got into my first NFT ever was a Kujira. Literally the first time I'd ever bought one, and I got into like the culture and stuff, and really enjoyed it. Then of course the shrimps, and I've been dabbling, so I love that side of it. But I don't really see it. We don't want to like go off and cannibalize some NFT market. That's not what we want to do.
Yeah, like, no, I'm asking because obviously I want the best for Stargaze. I'm sure there will be many trying to do the approach. But like there is also financial NFTs, right? So I imagine the certain positions you have. It makes sense for like LP positions for it to be the NFT that you can actually trade. So
Yeah, there's tons.
There's way more, right? And
Exactly.
I touched this subject because actually Kujira community is very active in the NFT space. So
Yeah.
And they are very active on the Stargaze. And I don't think many people know that, like, I think during the period, like many people would consider me like Kujira fan. I don't even think many people consider me that. Maybe like I would be buying like Kujira NFTs on Stargaze, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I saw this is like very strong community. And recently I bought Kujirans, and I was looking at them for a very long time because I think it's very cool pixel art.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it's they plan a game actually, but it's
Yeah.
just like, hey, it's cool. It's very well distributed. It has large community. So
Yeah.
it's I
It's
think
interesting, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You're in touch with Stargaze. Like I
Yeah.
didn't look up. Like what is it about? You do something together? If you
Sort
can
of. I
share, or
mean,
I'm not sure if it can be public or not.
no, there's no like profit share or anything like that. It's just, I don't know. We got in a chat with him fairly early on, and we just kind of made an agreement, like, I don't know, just a kind of handshake deal. Really, there's no money or anything. It's just like our community. It's sort of strange, right? No, it's interesting that the community of a very DeFi centric chain also love NFTs. We love that.
Mhm.
We really love that. So we went to Stargaze and just said, I don't even know why. Obviously they wouldn't have minded. They're not going to say no. It was just more just being polite, like saying, listen, we feel like you guys should be the NFT chain of choice for people that are coming to do NFTs that are Kujira related. And then those communities themselves, those NFT communities, Ghost in the Chain, Shrimps, Kujirans, there's a few others. They all then have their own profit share that they bring back to the Kujira network, which is amazing. I think, like Kujirans is like 50%.
Yeah.
And all the other guys are doing that too. So it's just another cool medium, and it's good for both of us.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm a big holder of those collections, right? So I didn't know who started this, but like, to my defense, because there was many people saying that my eyes been now open, but some time ago, like quite a few months ago, there was proposal to incentivize some pool with stars tokens on Kujira. Did it pass or not? I don't even remember. Or
I don't think
And
so, actually.
I was actually, because many people voted no, and
Yeah,
because I have validator under BadKid's name, it's now not ideal, because I think like I'm not necessarily representing BadKids. I voted yes on that proposal. It was like many months ago, like when, like many people didn't consider me part, but it was like it's $3,000 or something like this. I was like,
yeah,
there is so much benefits for Stargaze if they vote yes on this, and if they vote no on this, it's
yeah.
so stupid, because for 3,000 you can make the community look at you and feel like, hey, they actually support us. So if it
Okay,
didn't pass, we made the community like who, look, they don't support us. So
okay.
it did
People are
pass.
saying it did. It
Yeah,
did actually. So yeah,
but
I must. So that's great.
there was
Um,
so many people voting no, and I was like, it's $3,000. Like,
yeah.
what the hell is your
We
problem?
So we see it quite a bit actually, and we were a little bit confused. Um, so I think it might just be a lack of information, to be honest.
Hmm.
Um, I really think it might just be an informational thing. Uh, if you think about like, so what we're doing with those incentives is not they're not just like flying around in the wind. They're not just there for no reason. So what happens is when you apply incentives on Bo, which is literally an automated market maker, so it literally does the market making on the books. What that then allows you to do is have another really good the point of it is to have another good avenue for trading, right? And there are not many places that have a true on-chain order book experience, right? And it's nice to trade like that. Obviously, yeah, we need more liquidity. It goes without saying. That is one thing, can be a struggle, but we believe that's going to come. If you put that aside, it's twofold, like you say. First of all, yeah, the community suddenly the Kujira community are getting exposed, and there's that natural crossover. But the most important thing is that you then have a nice looking book that's that's being there's a proper maker involved, so which is really important. So that's really the main thing.
I wanted to, like, there is one thing I wanted to ask, because there's so many products now. But what interests me, like, it's Ghost. Once again, I know nothing, right? But it's the money market. So I want to learn a little bit if the Ghost is similar to what those other lending borrowing protocols offer, such as Umi and Mars, or it's something different. Guys,
Yeah.
70 people watching. It might be fuck my English. Can you like this video? Like, I would appreciate that. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so Ghost is actually pretty much bog standard lending, right? Lending and borrowing. We didn't want to have any tricks, at least. Well,
Mhm.
not that we're ever going to have tricks, but it's pretty simple, right? You basically the interest rates and fees from each side basically pays the market, and there's a there's a pretty easy calculation for how these are calculated based on the utilization rate of
Mhm.
that particular market. So obviously the APRs fluctuate, but the important thing is that there's no money coming out of the air. Like the money on the one side, the money on the lending side
Mhm.
needs to exist for there to be borrowing enabled, and the fees that are and interest rates that are charged in respectively across both are what you end up getting back.
Yeah.
So there's no tricks, there's no magic money pot, there's no, hey, you're definitely going to get 20% forever and ever. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty stock standard. I'm not entirely sure how Mars works really. I've got an
Me
idea.
too, but like, I know that lending borrowing protocol, right? So I would imagine those things, like,
Yeah.
you deposit one asset and you get the other one. I see there's three assets, right? Is it correct? I see three assets. Is there
Well,
more?
in Ghost now there's tons you can
Oh yeah,
you
I see three on top. Sorry. So there
yeah,
is
you can lend and borrow like loads and loads and loads. And then of course
great. Wow, man.
And and then
Wow.
of course there's Orca markets for all of those as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I didn't expect it could be that much. I
yeah,
remember, like, long ago, you actually were the first one that connected to Nomic. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even in their videos and stuff, you'll see it's always Kujira in their test net.
Yeah. Like,
I'm not sure how. I don't know. I think we were just we just saw the potential and thought, shit, that's perfect for what we're thinking with the Kujira ecosystem, right? And I think we were just one of the first teams to get in touch, and then we just kept getting in touch. But yeah, I mean, I just really hope that they can launch at some point soon, man. It's because theoretically it's massive.
yeah, like I was making that video about the testnet when they connect into Kujira, and it was like I felt it's such an odd choice, right? Um, but do you know what's the progress like? Do you think next year you would expect actually Nomic BTC, because that's perfect, right? Because then you can use the Nomic BTC as the collateral, I believe, for some of the so that was the plan initial, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, there's not much you can do with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's just a perfect asset for that, right? May as well, if you're probably not going to plan on selling it. Use it as collateral. Free up some money by keeping your assets. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? For sure. And I hope certainly by next year. I'm sure it'll be sooner than that.
Yeah. There was one person keep asking questions, so like maybe it's by the way, I see the comments. I see the Ian Jean Baptiste. I'm genuinely interested. Sorry if you don't like my tone. But anyway, there is the question, what's the runway? Because like, yeah, you lost some money, so what's the runway, like, if you can share how much
Yeah.
money you got?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we've got most of that, half the 3 million that we still had. So that's plenty.
Oh, that's,
Um,
yeah, cool.
yeah. So, and then in terms of, we've got our operational budget, which is really healthy. I mean, at this point, I'd say like a decade easily. I mean, our costs up until now have been something like 20 grand a month, which is actually going to come down heavily now. So it's really, it's a lean ship, right?
it's
And yeah.
it's yeah, man, like yeah, it's crazy. What you mean 20,000? Like I would say, but and you also have Kuji tokens, right? How much you have as the founders?
We have 4.5 million each.
Oh,
In terms
so but it's the founder allocation. Do you have like developer pool of Kuji tokens as well?
Yeah, there's a developer pool. There's obviously there's an operational budget as well. I can't think of the exact numbers, but it's on our docs. If I can share a link in here,
Yeah.
I can
So,
send you
yeah,
the.
please. So you
Yeah,
also use though, like, so some stuff I believe you fund with Kuji, some stuff with USD, right? That's how you. That's
yeah,
how you do it?
mostly Kuji at the moment.
Uh-huh.
But we're busy
Oh, that's
working now
nice. Saving
to
money. Yeah.
diversify our treasury as much as we can. I think Maya is going to be a really good one for treasury diversification, right?
Mhm.
Get some Bitcoin in the system, not to like prop anything up, but just to
Yeah.
have diversification. I see the second part of this question. There's been 3 hacks. There haven't been 3 hacks. There was one exploit that it happened once, and actually it was like a silly internal error that just meant that they snuck through again. Obviously, we sorted that out straight away. The other issue was literally MEXC's price reporting is absolutely not a hack. MEXC just reported the price as 0, and it's quite hard to explain, but there was a lot of like Oracle work and things that were going on. And of course, we don't have many price points for Kujira now, but
Mhm.
that has all been like more than solved. And it was, sometimes it's quite a good lesson. But I would say, I think saying there were 3 hacks is really not. It's just not the case at all. There was one single loophole that was found, which managed to get exploited twice, and we patched that up, and that was cool. And by the way, that was missed by about 3 different audits, and actually it was missed. I don't want to say too much because it's unfair on the security of other projects, but let's just say it was missed for a very, very, very long period of time. So yeah, that's just something I would hope to have cleared up. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I want to address that 20,000 burnout, because there's no way like I could not support this time of this type of approach of actually building. Just if you can say me like or I probably should check my self allocations, because I believe everyone knows, is 3 founders or 2 founders?
3.
Yeah. But the burnout of 20,000, you said, I know the projects that I know that receive 30,000 per head for maintenance of Cosmos SDK. um
Really?
yeah, like I was fighting with some people. Did you see so like, I don't want to drag you into some, but if you ever seen the Interchain Foundation
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, of
and
course.
there was like so those entities, when you count per head, it the, some had just below, like some had over 300,000 yearly USD per head. Of course there is
Yeah.
a tax, but like it's insane, right? And
Yeah.
there's always the same response: yeah, good developers cost a lot of money. I'm like, dude, I live on 10% of that and I'm absolutely fine. What you talk about, right? Like
Yeah. I
and
mean,
it's not that I live in cheap city. I live in fucking expensive city. So like
yeah,
I feel there is this lost with reality in crypto. Like the
yeah,
people who could not make it anymore in the real world, right? You cut out the funding of them and they're like gone. They're homeless because they're absolutely unadapted.
yeah.
Right?
I definitely agree with that. For obvious reasons, like, yeah, that particular topic, I don't want to. We don't really want to be seen to try and like shitting on other
Yeah,
chains and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I mean,
Like so
we
it's
get
not.
enough FUD without doing that. We actually do try and kind of keep to ourselves and whatever, believe it or not. But yeah, in terms of the general sentiment, I completely agree. I think a lot of people come into the space kind of knowing that they can rinse it.
Mhm.
Um, Definitely knowing that they can go off and just infinitely apply for grants, and then like make governing bodies for grants that consist of the people that are going to get the grants. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah, that kind of
There's
stuff is wild.
so many entities that fully relies on grants, right? There is no product, but they live on for years on the grants. How many people work for Kujira right now?
So
Yeah.
we have a wider team, I think, of about 10 people
Mhm.
that are doing everything from marketing to communications in general, business developments, obviously, mods on Discord and all sorts of stuff like that. And then the 3 founders, and it'll be more now. And then we've got the 3 developers that are working with us now: Mint the Moon, Christian from Star Squid,
Mhm.
and Amit, of course. Amit, who built Ghost. Well, certainly all the architecture stuff. So yeah, probably a bit more like 12 or 13. Yeah, I haven't
Is it
actually.
mainly remote?
Yeah, everyone is remote, really. Brett and I live in the same town. Other than that, everyone is pretty much
Mhm.
everywhere else. So yeah, no restrictions in terms of that. There's not like a head office or anything just yet. I think usually when you do that kind of stuff, then the market goes to zero, right? So we don't want to tempt fate.
So because you moved to Portugal, to Lisbon, correct? Lisbon, right?
Yes.
Is it because it's like crypto friendly, or just like you wanted to a little better weather?
No, it wasn't really to be honest, they have a pretty cool tax regime here,
Mhm.
but I didn't even know about the crypto tax stuff
Yeah.
when I first started thinking about it. We've just been visiting for a long time, to be honest, and my wife and I, and uh, you know, coming in from London in like February, and it's 20 degrees, and just beautiful beaches and, all sorts of stuff like that. And just thinking like, wow. And then, I mean, I love London, but, we had kids over there and just started becoming a bit more and more like, I think for lifestyle, we need a change. And I, myself in particular, just fell in love with Portugal. And it was like, I had my eye on it for years and years and years. So no, it was definitely more like just a personal feeling, just somewhere I wanted to be.
Yeah. Wow, many people move there. Like, not sure if you heard of Zaki. I think he even
Yeah.
have a house there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I've heard of that. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Like,
a beautiful place. I love it.
yeah. One day I'd love to have some place in Europe. I'm originally, like, as I
Of
said,
course. Yeah.
from Europe, but I'm like far away because my wife is from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
We're. You said you have kids, adult kids?
Not adult kids. How old do you think I
No,
am?
because I got confused because you said you have kids in London.
No, no, no. My God, no, no. Sorry, we had them there, like they were born there. I should have been more
Right.
clear.
I was like, why this? Why, like, no, I was thinking like you look a little bit too young, so that's
Well,
why
thank you.
and that's why like I'm asking like, how come he has adult kids? Like, what's
My
going
God.
what's going on here? Did he start them
No, not
working
yet.
on at the age of 8 or like what's what the hell? Like,
Yeah, shit. I better go pick them up, like Cosmos Joe says. They're still in London.
yeah. Wow. How long you
Uh,
been to Portugal? Like how long?
6 years.
Oh, nice.
Crazy long. Eyeing out the passport already. I just
Nice.
want to keep collecting them.
Yeah, like we have Kuji cast here, and I want to say like the reason like why I like really like the Kuji community that even after some of the arguments, there are communities that completely like will cancel you, but like even when I wasn't Kujirans, like Kujicast always like funly engage, like
Yeah.
so that's like really nice vibe of the community that you were that you were able to build. Let's talk about the closed source, and
Yeah.
I want to tell you, are you limited with time? We're already going for over 1 hour.
No, it's okay. I've got to be somewhere in like say half an hour, but let's
Right,
shoot. Let's
cool.
yeah, yeah.
So I was like I think because I spoke about this, hey, this is dangerous. I made a video after Larry said that there is one wallet that could do it, and some like I think it's fair to assume like if one wallet can do it, is the dangerous. Now I'm like also thinking like, hey, is it actually maybe safer than having it like on the multi-sig? Like I think it's like sometimes when you have more people, it's more difficult to manage security. But also I start flipping on that because like I think you should be open source. Maybe I will learn, but
Yeah.
like I saw a lot of people right in crypto. Like I think for open source to work, you have to have the certain alignment and respect each other, because I think there is a lot of gossips of people stealing actually code all the time. And those
Yeah.
people are like, oh, it should be open source, but there's actually code. Like, but for that, you need to respect each other. Like you fork the code, you collaborate, and this collaborative nature needs to function.
Yeah.
But if you shout open source and you openly don't do it, then this system doesn't work. So I think maybe my view is naive right here for the it should be open source, but for that to work, everyone has to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Like you
No,
have to, and I saw it. Like that's why it doesn't work.
yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky one. No, you're
Mhm.
dead right. It's definitely not naive or anything, and not at all. And we've been pretty open about this, I would say. Yeah, someone said, "Isn't that what licensing is for?" Yeah, almost impossible to police. But yeah, it's a nice idea. So also, I think, by the way, I think even Larry has gone back on that now. Ironically, I saw some of his tweets now saying he's going to, have to close source and license things or whatever because he's been getting ripped off. So I don't think, yeah, as you said, there's definitely not a silver bullet. We agree with you too. Kujira absolutely will be fully open sourced. The issue we have is that there's kind of like a few pieces of key tech going on in the background that the kind of the problem we have is that everyone else is overly funded, and frankly we feel a little bit understacked sort of
Mhm.
tech capability wise. So it's kind of like being the smaller guys that are running on their funds from Terra and trying to do things like for the community, no inflation, no one's getting paid, zillions of tokens a month just to stand around. We really have to do things lean. I think we're in kind of a unique position there in that we would be the first to just get, people can agree that, we've built some interesting stuff, some stuff that didn't exist before, all that kind of thing. And now with respect, you've got people that are boasting about $400 million ecosystem funds and they haven't released anything. Now you glue those two things together and it sounds like a bit of a recipe for disaster. So we're under no illusions that this needs to happen and that it will happen. And it's going to start off with kind of Sonar initially. And, we feel like we're pretty close in terms of having that, that momentum wheel that you mentioned, Don, that catalyst that just starts rolling that boulder down the hill a little bit faster. At that case, all of this stuff is going to matter a lot less, but especially now during this bear market where we're just trying to get things really on track. But, again, always happy to have this conversation. Like, we're not saying what we're doing is right and what other people are doing is wrong. We totally get it. Like a really sensitive topic. So, yeah.
Did it change about the minting USK? Like, is it still that one wallet has the control, or there is like the certain, like, how does it work to ensure that this doesn't get exploited? Because I don't think the risk was like,
so
it's more about the system, right?
Yeah.
Design of the system that can protect itself from the exploit. So when there is like maybe the validators controlling that, this system is more difficult to exploit, because if you are the one wallet, right? And if that wallet, go on.
Yeah. So just to be clear, the big fuss that everyone was making, yes, rightly so, the one wallet is an issue. That is we're literally moving that over to like complete governance, but it's a tricky one, right? Like, it's not something we can jump on, but it's absolutely happening. What Larry and others jumped on feel is like it was a little bit alarmist. So yes, agree that control over that is dangerous, was always something that we were moving. We had actually been open and honest about that. And then obviously what happens is people jump on and create panic. What they did, though, is they took the bytecode from the repo, which our source code is actually open source. There's only certain bits that aren't. So that's another thing. And basically ran that locally. And then it was locally where they were saying, oh, I can go in and do this. So it's kind of a little bit sad that it was painted as if you could literally do this live with real Kuji. This was happening with a local instance, right? So again, I agree that centralization of that one system is not ideal, and we're moving it. But B, it was absolutely not true that you could do that in a real world situation. Basically, it was a local environment running a literal simulation. So, and then everyone's like, wow, it's so unsafe, blah, 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 which is just not true.
Yeah. I want to ask, is it because different product? Because and that's maybe good about like what's coming to Kujira. I like DYDX. I like not sure if you ever use it, but DYDX, as I believe, they're open source, right? And I think they're the best on the market when it comes to derivative trading.
Yeah.
How and I believe they also said that they chain that they will it also will be open source. So like how these very large players are capable of being fully open source and also winning with the competition. Do you have any thoughts here? Because that was like, is it because their product is different?
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's a weird one. We don't necessarily think that open, like closed source means success, or that open source means success. You know what I mean? Like we don't necessarily have like major like strong beliefs in either one of those scenarios. So I mean, for one thing, I can see DYDX are already talking about doing a lot of the computation off chain, right? So like that's cool, but like what we're doing is absolutely every single transaction, even with Fin, even with an order book, is on chain. There might be crankless as well, completely fair distribution. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that anybody is doing that. There's a lot of people claiming to be on chain, but they are still doing lots of bits off chain now. So it's kind of weird, right? So you can say it's open source, but then you're still having computational stuff happening off chain. Kind of feel like that's a bit worse than not seeing the code, but you can prove that everything is on chain. I don't know. So as I say, mate, like definitely don't feel like we need to open source for sure, and we will be. And absolutely, like I think probably with the community, maybe it could have happened a bit sooner. But again, these teams come into the game from Silicon Valley or wherever with like hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars, right? So you can just put the logo on in every subway and in every country in the world, basically shove it down people's throats, get all the massive jump and all these huge players to come on board and rinse money through your books. Not like a cute, but you can go get the liquidity you want. You can buy the marketing, you can buy the brand name to get out there. And it's a much better head start, right? It's like we don't have the luxury of that. So we've just been trying to be a little bit conscious of that and walk that tightrope as closely as we can. But yeah, don't think there's any necessarily dead right or dead wrong answers, but it's a good discussion anyway.
I would say like, yeah, like I was naive, and it's fact, like DYDX, how much they raised, $60 million, right? If they need
They probably had multiple ranks.
if they need additional 200, easy.
Yeah.
Like that's like essentially what it means. It's infinite money. Like it doesn't end. But also like you would often listen to the like very wealthy venture capitalists who like to come and say, I was the guy who listened to that, right? And that open source is the movement of the Web3, right? Where everyone is like, I'm like, dude, you literally like worth 2 billion. It's you, it's not me. Like it's open source movement, but it's for you, it's not for me. I don't really have advantage here. Like,
yeah,
so now
that's it.
like I have that distance. Yeah, this is it. It's like, hello, it's a real world here, right? It's
I think that's it. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I think we're on the same page. Maybe just slightly tilted. It's like there's ideals, right? The ideals that we both have in our heads would be great. The ideal of open source just solving everyone's problems and everything goes away, and everything's wonderful and everyone just works together, and then the ideal perhaps of closed source just being fully trusted somehow and blah blah blah, which I understand that's a silly ideal. There's definitely somewhere in the middle, right? I'm sure we can all agree that code being open sourced hasn't done very, very much for, I guess, even security, right? The one thing that people shout about and so again, I'm really not here to sit and try and defend being closed source. That's not why I make that comment, but I'm just saying it's not black and white, and it's something that is kind of sensitive, and it's something that kind of probably needs to move at the speed it needs to move. But yeah, we have made that commitment, and we will stick to it. As we always have. We'll never let the community down.
I actually think what you're trying to do is like to provide the best product to people, right? And
literally,
win the market. So when I look at Kujira, right, you have great limit orders, right? You surely focused on the financial side of crypto, but you don't really focus on derivatives trading. Is it something you would be ever interested?
Absolutely. So there's all sorts of perps and future style things coming to Kujira. 100%. So the incredible work that the guys have been doing with the oracles really have been making their way towards this. So Ghost, without people really realizing it, is really the platform for this, of course. And then when you mix that with Orca again, and then trades firing off on Fin, you realize that that's kind of what we are talking about. And the price oracle kind of being key for all of that. So 100%, like now that the base layer has been laid in terms of, okay, how are liquidations handled? Okay, that's sorted. How's market making handled? That's done. Okay, there's a lending and borrowing market. So, you've got liquidity sitting in there. And now that the price oracles are really, really solid, aside from one Kuji mishap, which was literally MEXC reporting a zero price, which, a bit of school fees, 9K in Kuji school fees picked up in a second and sorted. Aside from that, all the other assets have, multiple price streams. So yeah, this is definitely the groundwork for that is the shorter answer. We're just going to keep coming with whatever you can really imagine from a financial perspective, just kind of keep building it.
Yeah, because if people say Kujira has the best user experience, and it's so important for derivatives, so it almost seems like it is a perfect fit, right? But
Absolutely.
derivatives are difficult because for that you need really a lot of liquidity as well, right? So yeah, it would be crazy to be able to short some of the Cosmos coins, because I believe, like, if I go to DYDX, all I can do is the one Cosmos coin that I could do anything is Atom, right?
Yeah.
And I usually play Ethereum, but there is not this niche. It's not ideal because of the obviously liquidity issues, so it's hard to play it with all of the altcoins. Is Kujira what is left from Luna? Because I almost got that feeling that that there was Luna, but Kujira is what received what was received after Luna. Like, do you think that you carrying that path? I think even looking at the community, Kujira community is actually Luna community, right?
Yeah.
And it's so engaged, right? Like,
yeah.
so
I get the feeling, I'm trying to think how to say this tactfully, but maybe it doesn't matter. I get the feeling that we got a large portion of the good parts of the Terra community, right? Make no mistake, anyone that was involved there got mega wrecked, right? And by the way, I'm not talking about Terra too. As you guys all know, we work with them, and we've still got a good relationship with TFL, and Luna's still involved in our ecosystem and all that. I'm talking about obviously Terra One, just to be clear. But I think when that happened, and we committed to doing the 1-to-1 token swap on the new Genesis. I think, and I've heard this from people, so I'm not just this isn't out of my own head, but I think we gave people hope, which I think was needed then, right? And I think it's quite weird, right? Like, I mean, we did a 1-to-1 reimbursement to the most wrecked people on the entire planet, probably in the history of crypto, and the token actually went up when we launched. I don't know how or why, but anyway, I think what it proves is the resilience and I guess the hope that the community still carries. So yeah, I think that statement is pretty fair.
So going to the end, like, what are your plans? I think maybe some people also, like, if you can answer when exactly is the Sonar.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
someone says in couple weeks, but
yeah,
is there anything you want to share about Kujira, what's coming, or anything that you have not announced yet and you can announce?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think we kind of touched on a few bits there. We are definitely looking at some interesting things around NFTs. Maybe don't just immediately think, as we said, maybe not specifically the artwork, which we love, but as we spoke about, Don and I, there's plenty of other applications, and you never know. Sonar, yes, a few weeks I think is realistic. Obviously, hoping that people can understand. I'm not talking about security perspective, but regular little bugs here and there. I'm sure, we've had a really good testing group, but I think it's safe to say that, there's going to be a little bit of time in beta phase, like a more public beta. But yeah, a few weeks for that. And then, I don't know, I mean, I'm just really excited for the teams that are building on Kujira, right? So you've got Calc Finance, who are just doing a fantastic job. I mean, I think if you talk about UX, I mean, they are really, really, I don't know if you know about them, Don, but
No, I'm
Calc,
just trying
yeah.
to find it. It should be on Kujira page, right? Is the
Yeah, on the ecosystem maybe, but calculated. I'll send you the link in here. But anyway, I think most of the people in this call know about them, but I'll send you some links after the call. But just really, really great, like on the surface, or just kind of DCAing in and out of tokens, but it's been working extremely well. Now they've got DCA Plus, which is really been fantastic. People are definitely averaging out much more. There's been some analysis around that. Now they're doing all sorts of crazy and wonderful stuff in terms of swaps. They're going to be doing stuff that's going to actively help the peg of USK as well. You've got the Manta DAO, who are building, it's already live. You can have a look at that. And Mike from Manta is just going to be bringing all sorts of incredible things to the Kujira blockchain, thinking like along the lines of being able to do really, really large volume swaps, without having any significant slippage. And, I'm sure maybe we'll get on a space at some point where we can chat about that. Hummingbots are just about, the people that are building our Hummingbot adapter are just about done. I think they're literally in the final stages. I think people would have seen Hans's tweet earlier. So that's going to be massive. People are going to be able to deploy their own strategies, their Hummingbot strategies on Fin. So now, if we're talking about more liquidity, more volume, all these kind of things, that's going to be really, really huge, right? Like, we would encourage people to go out and learn how Hummingbot works. The team that are building our adapter, who build most of them, said to us legitimately, like, this is the best one that we've ever seen. It's how flexible it is, what it can do, the way Fin works. So again, that was just kind of testament, I think, to how I think how good this ecosystem is and how everything works together. So yeah, honestly, I just think right now it's about us obviously carrying on the partnerships. We want to really become a hub for LSDs in the cosmos. We have some cool ideas around that. So we're going to be engaging with lots of different teams. Well, we have already.
You mean you want to have your own LSD protocol, or rather like partnership with Stride and use that to actually be able to give the LSD potential?
You've got obviously you've got Eris protocol, you've got Quicksilver, you've got Staffy, you've got these great protocols, and honestly, there aren't many ways for people to use LSDs in the cosmos, and we kind of feel like we offer some cool stuff, right? Like, you can mint USK with it, like, which is already that's a use case, right? Instead of just having something that goes up, you can actually go off and use that asset. You can, you'd be able to lend and borrow on Ghost, all these kind of things. We feel like there's quite a lot, Orca liquidations, we feel like there's quite a lot that we can offer that we can offer to these LSD providers in terms of actual use case for their tokens. And then, of course, it's another good place for them to trade, to be able to have order book trading, all that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, of course, the Wink Hub. That's going to be really interesting because it's going to be a content platform. I mean, we'd even love you to come and create some content for the hub. Basically, just a one-stop content generation platform for the Kujira ecosystem. So those are the immediate things. Yeah, USK as payment. So this is probably like thinking, don't know how many years down the line, hopefully sooner. But this is really what we could see it becoming. So you've got the Sonar app. Maybe you're a merchant selling hot dogs or selling some expensive watches. It doesn't matter. And you just pull out the app, and it's, the two of you just join together, beep, and you've made a payment in a decentralized manner in literally the same amount of time it would take you to tap your card. So that's definitely like um, the payment rails and payment platform is definitely something that we have like in our long-term vision. Just need to like build up all the protocols and build up the the core infrastructure first, I guess, and obviously have a bit more liquidity flowing. But that's definitely what we're looking towards. I see. Let's roll
I think
1988.
Manta Dao was even messaging me. I think they want to partner with Stargaze. I need to ping them. But like when I'm looking at your page, which is like really cool to see, and also with the applications that launching on Kujira, that you have your own identity. If you check a lot of Cosmos chains, they use the same um, um, UX designers. I feel you go to all the pages and they look the same. You know what I? They have the
Yeah,
plan.
yeah,
They're like, it's like,
yeah.
hey, it's like 10 chains and use the same company. Like, come on, do something different. You need to find the so it's very very cool that it you have your own identity here. Like, also I want to know, because your liquidity is not ideal, and I think it's struggle of a lot of this type of the chains, because I think actually being listed on the centralized exchange is quite important for liquidity. It also protects the price because they have a lot of market makers. I think so. Those usually do much better. Was there any centralized exchanges contacting you? Do you have any plans about this?
Yeah, big time. I mean, we're chatting with like all the major ones, and
Mhm.
we've been waiting on some confirmation from a few. It's very chicken and egg at the moment. So it's one of those things where, like you just said, you kind of need that in order to get more liquidity. But then the reverse is true. You've got to get on it first, and
Yeah.
so I'd like to think we're very very close on quite a few significant ones. But yeah, some people think that we're not keen. We are very very keen, and yeah, we're talking with a whole bunch. They literally don't allow you to say their names, otherwise
Yeah.
the deal can just fall through.
Yeah.
But
So just
safe to say we're speaking with lots of very very good exchanges, and we're working every day on that.
yeah, that I totally understand. Just like wanted to know if you talk, because also
Yeah,
something that I flipped on, right? Seeing, I think centralized exchanges are actually so important. I would like to put even like an example of, you're surely familiar with osmosis, right? And I think for osmosis, like Sane always said, he hopes that the largest liquidity of Osmo will be just on osmosis and very little on the centralized. But I think the reason, if centralized exchanges are going to list Osmo, it's gonna save osmosis. Like, otherwise, because Atom, despite having no utility and being quite and like inflationary, protects the price, and the only thing that keeps the Atom price is market makers on centralized exchanges, right?
yeah,
So people don't realize that. Sorry for holding you that long, but like,
no problem.
also I saw you are listed on Camelot. I had a chance to speak to the Iron Boots from Camelot. Such a lovely person. Not sure if
He
you.
is right.
Yeah,
Great.
like, I was shocked. Like, I tell you, like, just message me and tell me like, hey, we listed like ST Atom, then some, and then they listed Kuji, and like I was shocked that the guy just messaged me saying hi and stuff. Like,
Yeah,
so super nice. But I can see that it's quite difficult to drive people there. Like, the volume still on Camelot is different. I think it would be very cool, and like I wish the best the Camelot guys, and I hope Cosmos people will go there and explore that
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Um,
It's getting there, and I think as these things build up and grow during this bear market, as conditions pick up, hopefully, I'm sure all of that will as well. But
mhm,
we got to start somewhere. Start with the building blocks and
yeah.
keep moving.
Uh, Three favorite Cosmos chains.
Three favorite Cosmos chains. Um, Stargaze for sure. Yeah. No, I mean, they are really doing
Yeah.
they're doing a good job. Um, I mean, I still think I quite like some of the stuff that comes out of the secret network, like
Mhm.
Shade. But but in terms of so I think that's probably another one. I kind of found it interesting. I'm not sure who to mention as the third one, actually.
People trying to recommend you.
um, well, give me a recommendation.
Uh, well, I'm biased, right? Because sometimes you have teams that are more friendly than you. Then, like, obviously, I would be biased and I would say Stargaze, but yeah, the
Yeah,
Stargaze pays me, right? Like, it's easy choice.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
I
listen,
I really like.
I'm all for people doing something like, they're growing. The TVL's kind of growing, which
Mhm,
which I think is good. I like the fact they seem to be, you know, working really hard and
mhm,
doing good stuff, and people want to go and launch their collections there. They actually want to get involved, which I think is pretty cool considering the
mhm.
market and everything.
Yeah. Dove, really thank you for this chat. Guys, I used Dove a little bit to learn about Kujira. I hope that's just the beginning of exploration. Like, also thank you for all Kujirans to like engaging and doing the NFTs, because I think like you are a very like important part of the community. So Dove, I hope we're gonna speak more, and
Yeah,
that's
would
also
love that.
enjoy the rest of your day. Sorry for taking so much of your day. That's
Oh, it was a real
done.
pleasure.
And
Real
yeah,
pleasure, man. Thank you.
thanks a lot. Bye bye.
We'll
Bye
chat
bye.
soon. Ciao, mate. Bye bye.